Okay, so how's everybody doing out there? This is the Artistic Talent Show, but the theme for this show is the veteran voices of the veteran. Now, my name is Melvin Isaac, and I also have a podcast as well. But I have an excellent guest on my show, and ironically, he's a Vietnam era veteran. I'm a Vietnam era veteran as well, but he's from the same era I'm from. So we have a lot in common. So this is our first day, and we're going to have a lot of series of giving information and bring you back to what happened and sharing what we have now. So I want to introduce my host. Actually, I'm going to let him introduce himself. Okay.
Well, thank you very much. First off, I'd like to shake your hand, sir, and thank you very much for having me on your show. Mm-hmm. I'm honored.
Right.
My name is David Weinberg. I'm a longtime Brooklyn resident. Right. I served in the United States Navy and was a Vietnam era, where they sent my butt to Da Nang. And, but I got back as soon as I possibly could. President Nixon had a problem with the popularity of this war. And thanks to a lot of concerned citizens marching, constantly demonstrating against the war, the decision was made by the administration to send whoever was over there for a designated amount of time to bring some of us back. And I was one of the lucky ones to come back about 2 months earlier than I was scheduled for. And in fact, I received my discharge 3 weeks from today. Would be 50 years.
Wow.
May 29th, 1969. They served me with my discharge. And besides my wedding day, the birth of my two kids, the day that I received my discharge was right up there in the happiest moments of my life. So
great. Yeah, it's a great introduction, a great little bit of history about your tour and not Vietnam, but being a veteran.
Yeah.
And so now let me just switch it over a little bit about the questions that I would like to ask you. And also we're going through, Q&A question among ourselves.
Right.
So basically is for myself that I can record is what happened in the Vietnam era. I was drafted. Right. That was in 1967.
Yeah, I was in by that time.
Right, and they drafted a lot of us at that time. So I went into the Air Force.
Oh.
And that was the 4 years tour. But when I came out and all the stuff that I had seen, because at that particular time, it was the Vietnam War that was going on. A lot of people that was against it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people was marching as if we was the problem, because a lot of us came back. And one of the things that it hurted me is that when I came back from one of the bases that I was on, because I went to a lot of different, I didn't go to Vietnam, but I went to a lot of different bases.
Right.
So when I came back to New Jersey, McGuire Air Force Base from Norton, California, what I noticed that the people, they was protesting. They was in the streets and they was calling the soldiers baby killers.
Yes.
They was
LBJ. How many kids did you kill today?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's
throwing
garbage.
All of that, and then the worst thing was it wasn't no debriefing. When you come back, they did not, no counseling.
It's sort of like opening up a cage and letting us out.
Exactly. And then
we're on our own.
And then it wasn't no welcome home parade.
No.
None of that.
We got actually, it was just the opposite. People would be vehemently against us.
Yes.
Our emotions
Yeah.
turned on us. Their emotions turned on us
Right.
as if we were the problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah.
We just see the reason. I have to digress a minute
Yeah,
about
no, that's okay.
about
That's
the
okay.
the way the era at that time.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the middle 60s, around I think it was 66, they came out with
Yeah.
the lottery draft.
Yeah. Okay.
Where-
Good.
yeah,
Great.
and
great,
they
great,
put their
great.
they put all the calendar dates in like a big drum,
Yeah.
and they would take them out one at a time.
Yep.
And the in order, the earliest ones, of course, were almost immediately drafted.
Yeah.
Up until you had the number about 170, 175, and if you were going to college at that time, you got 180, 190. You were relatively safe.
Yeah.
I hardly ever won anything in my life except I won the draft lottery. They gave me 3. You know, my birthday is December 30th. That was number 3. So that was like, don't even bother to get into your pajamas. Here's a uniform for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy.
So fortunately, I had a friend of mine whose father worked for the Department of the Navy as a civilian, and his son, of course, got him in. He got his son in, and he came to say goodbye. I'll never forget walking in the long hall on 42nd Street in our apartment house. And I had known him since we were kids.
Right.
He was at my bar mitzvah, actually. And he's walking in with a dress white uniform on his way to Hawaii. Well, I figured, hey, this is great. So I was told that to get into the Navy, I had to take a test. They wouldn't just let you in.
Right.
And Coast Guard was virtually impossible unless you knew anybody in the administration. To get into the Coast Guard, forget it. So I took the test. The Navy, I scored pretty well, and because my dad told me, you know, they're drafting into the Marines. Get into the Marines, you'll come back in a box.
Right.
You're not Marine material. So I managed to get in, do my boot camp, my cruises, my survival training, and I survived. I came back. I was lucky. Who knows what would have happened if I continued to defy the odds and continued college. I was a music major. That didn't work. You're going to. That wasn't exactly one of the most important functions in the society. You know, you're being a clarinet player.
Yeah.
All right. So I got out, and I immediately tried to get a job. And if you remember, it was very tough for us.
Yes, it was.
You
Yes,
know,
it was
I would sit in front of countless number of interviewers who never served a day in the armed forces, and I was very angry because I couldn't get a job for 10 months.
Yeah.
And I did interview upon interview, and I just didn't. I felt like the peg that didn't fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until somebody actually took a chance that actually liked me when I went
Yeah.
for the interview that they sent me on.
That's
And in those days, I don't know how many people remember in the city, John Street and a few others, filled with unemployment agencies, with advertisers of jobs in the window, and most of them were hooks because those jobs didn't exist. They would bring us in, and we said, "Oh, I want to audition. I'd like that job over there in the window that's filled."
Ain't that something?
So they would send out people like me for all the jobs that nobody else wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, but eventually I did get something. Thank goodness.
That
But
was
10
great.
months is a long time.
Yeah, and so that's a good, the good answer of what you are talking about with that, because I experienced similar to the same situation. But because of this show, that's why I created this platform to have veterans to come over here and to share their experience and what they've been through, and that would help out other veterans that's still out there.
That's right.
Because even though this is like 50 years later or something, you got veterans that still is homeless, on the street, homeless, and there's
In the subways.
In the subway, and you wonder.
Shouldn't happen.
Shouldn't happen. Shouldn't even.
Government
be that
should
way.
take care of us
Yes.
because we dedicated part of our lives
Yes.
to serve when we didn't really have to. We
Right.
gave up our private lives to not only fight in a war, even if there were no wars.
Yeah.
You know, but it seems like every time you turn around, we have now Venezuela, we have Saudi Arabia, we have Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan, and where does it end?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're just toys to the people in the administration. We're just moving on a chessboard.
Right.
We'll take these people over there. We'll throw them over there.
Yeah.
Okay. It shouldn't be.
No,
if we're going to fight a war, it better be worth our blood and soil.
That's right.
Right. It better be worth our lives to go over there and defend the country for the right reasons and not the wrong ones.
Right. Now, a lot of veterans, when they did, because of no debriefing, no welcome home, the country seemed to abandon us.
Yeah.
So a lot of us became alcoholics, drug addicts.
God, I never.
A lot of them went to prison.
Yeah.
A lot of them, like we said, is homeless, and a lot of them had post-traumatic stress syndrome. A lot of that stuff was going on. So now, what I noticed as far as my research, when I start looking at things to get this information out, is that it started to make a turn. In terms of, because I watched a lot of different videos that there is a stand down program only for veterans, and we're going to view that as well.
Okay.
And the listeners, they will too. But we right now, we just starting off. We have this platform, and we're going to share our information about what we're talking about, and then we're going to let the viewers see the things that we are talking about. Everything that we're talking about, we just bring a little clips back so this way y'all can see it, And like I said, one of them is the Stand Down program, and it's all over. And what they're doing, they're helping out veterans, homeless, any kind of veteran, Vietnam era. They're giving you food, clothing, medical attention. If you have a problem with housing.
That's another thing about the VA administration.
Yes.
The veterans are not getting proper care.
Yes.
They're waiting too long for treatment.
Yes.
Depression, opioids. There's just a host of issues that exist in our communities with veterans that should never exist.
It should never exist.
The government has so much money and they're not directing it to the priorities.
And that's why we got this show to speak out.
That's right.
So this is a start, and this is our first session, and we're going to have more speak out, about veteran issues and what information we have that can help out other people that might want to come on this show and start to voice their opinion, what they see that can help
their experiences.
Their experiences that can help out other veterans.
That's right.
That can help us out, because you got a lot of politicians that was from the Vietnam era, and they have the power to help out things. But we're going to be talking about that too. So right now we got to end it because
one thing. You brought up the point about when we got out, we weren't briefed, we weren't broken into the situation. We're just let out of our so-called cages. Okay.
Yeah.
My personal experience is when I got my discharge, I was called in. We filled out the proper papers. I got my discharge. Goodbye. Good luck.
Yes.
That was it.
That was it.
I felt like, what next?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We weren't prepared for any length of reassociating ourselves in society again.
Yeah.
And responsibility with getting a job and continuing a life interrupted by the military. And it was like you cut off, there's a string that you cut off, but you don't connect it back.
Yeah, you got to connect it
There's
back.
a loose end.
And that would be another question, and especially to get the right answer to when we come back again.
Okay.
Because we're going to come back, we're going to have more sessions, and we also going to be doing the podcast, and we're going to do that the next time we meet up again.
Right.
So basically everything they're hearing now, they're going to be hearing a lot of that on our podcast. So we're going to have two things going on to give this information out to the community at large, Brooklyn community, all the boroughs, because they're going to be hearing all this, and especially the veterans that's out there that's still going through that situation. They're traumatized.
That's right.
So we're going to uplift them. We here, I'm a advocate, that's what I call myself, advocate for veterans to help them out, and that's what we need.
That's right, and that's what they need. They need somebody to give them a bat to go up to the plate.
Come on now. So right now we got to end it, and we will be back again to the next session. It's our first session. And so again, I want to introduce, say my name again, which is Melvin Isaac. I'm a producer here at Brick, and I'm a podcast producer as well. And I'm your host, and here's our guest again.
Thank you, David Weinberg, and I want to thank you again. It's a pleasure, and I want to continue this association. And I want to give a personal message to all you veterans out there.
There you go.
They're all important. You never will be forgotten.
That's right. That's the way it is. Never, never. So that was good.